To go and see a vicar called Jordan, and he's the sexy vicar, apparently, or sexy father. There was a line that someone wrote on his viral TikTok video. It was, what was it? Sorry, Daddy, for I have sinned, or something horrific. He went viral just like a month ago, and we caught up because he's now the vicar in charge in Romford, the big church in the middle, and that's where I grew up, so I'm going to go and see him. I'm going on the motorbike, and because it's such a grey, nasty day, I'm going to wear some fluorescent, so uncool, but safe. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's fine. You well?
Good to meet you. Good to see you. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Got a camera going.
Oh, wow, already?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I need to get all the stuff off.
I mean, it is okay there.
Yeah,
I don't
fine.
mind it there, but
I'll put a lock on it.
It's up to you.
I think it'll be fine, won't it?
I never know in Romford. I don't want to say, but yeah.
I've not been in this church since about probably, I don't know, 1997 or 8.
Yeah.
That would have been the last time.
Wow.
Yeah. When?
I'm only saying wow because I was only 6 years old, Sam.
Shut off. Yeah, so that was the last time I was here, and it would have been, sixth form. I don't know if we had to go to church in the sixth form. I expect we did, but I think we used to have to walk. Is that what they do when they come here?
Yeah, they still walk. Yeah.
Yeah. All down London Road.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
It's a long walk. Actually,
It is a long walk.
It's far away. The school.
Yeah. And did primary school come here? I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Oh, they come here more often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, this church represented the kind of yawny church. So, like, if we especially think about secondary school, my sort of faith and experience and expression of it was very much kind of from a Baptist church, which was kind of fairly emotionless, but then this move into Soul Survivor. So at the time of my faith growing, when I was 14, 15, I was going to Soul Survivor, and Andy, who we both know, like, bless him, he'd drive us round to Watford in this beaten up transit van. Probably made it the 80s, way before you were born. And we'd go to Soul Survivor, like these monthly things. Yeah. So I'd come here to this church, and it was dusty, and it was old, and there was an expression of faith that I couldn't relate to. And the only thing, I'd know all the hymns, and I would sing them in falsetto, as loud as I could, try and make everyone laugh or whatever. That was that, and I remember. And if I wasn't doing that, I would, when you sing hymns that just make you yawn because you're used to opening your mouth wide, right?
Yeah.
And then you just start yawning, and and I remember this church being a church where I just yawned a lot. So it's from that being my memory, and then coming back here to having a conversation about, what is an active faith? What does it look like when it blows up on social media? What does it look like in comparison with what I thought was the best way of expressing my faith? And I think what I'd like to use this conversation for is you to tell your kind of experience. How much of those things mirror? You said you moved around a lot. That's interesting to hear. Let's talk about Soul Survivor. So I guess the first thing to ask is, what can I ask that just starts us off? How did you get here? So we had a phone call, so I've got a bit of a sense. You experienced Soul Survivor. It was important for you. So how did you get here?
I mean, do you want the long or short story?
Yeah, let's go long. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I mentioned to you that I grew up in Canada, and I'm not going to bore you with my childhood, but basically met my wife at Bible college. And then she was from Essex. She was an Essex girl. She was from this area, Romford. And so we moved here because we were engaged, and I went down the road of getting involved in the sort of youth work world. I always knew that I was going to go into ministry from about the age of 13.
Oh, wow.
And that was, Soul Survivor was involved in that, I'd say, or it was, the experience happened there. I just knew I had a calling. I did not know it would be the Church of England. In fact, I was probably pretty sure that it wouldn't be the Church of England.
Were you aware of like the Anglican thing?
Well, I was a Baptist, so my
Okay.
parents went to a small Baptist church. And the only thing I was aware of with the Anglican church was my parents spoke quite badly of it. And, so they said, oh, that's, the watered down and kind of some stuff you've expressed, the boring church is irrelevant, all that.
And with Baptist kind of comparison, probably the centrality of the Bible too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think I never thought that I'd be sitting here, and I never thought I'd even go down that road. But I mean, that's a longer story that happened over time. But essentially, came to Romford, did youth work in the more evangelical world of churches, and just before, so I was getting this sense that I was, I needed to step into that calling that I felt, and that the Church of England was the place to do that. And
how did that start? So if you thought at 13, let's talk about that first. So 13, sure. What inspires a 13-year-old to think I'm going into church work or however or the vocational? Well, I mean, what was it in your head what was that?
Well, I think, a lot of children talk about, or people talk about when they were a child, they sort of just found themselves in faith. For me, it wasn't that. Although my parents brought me up in a Christian home, it was a very visceral experience that I had in a moment of saying, I want to follow Jesus. And I remember waking up even the next day and just feeling like I could see the world in colour. It was a bit, I can't really explain it, especially for a child, because it wasn't that I wasn't happy before. It was just, I just felt like my eyes were opened. And I just had this passion straight away to tell my friends and other people about Jesus. I didn't quite know how that looked or how I should do it, but I knew I had that passion. And I think I always had what I would call, for a child, quite a close faith to Christ. And so when I was 13 and found myself in the big Soul Survivor tent, where that was quite a new experience, being in such a charismatic environment, I guess I sensed God placing a call on my life. I just knew in the worship, and maybe there'd been a talk as well, but I just knew God is calling me to live a life that's in ministry, if you want to call it a job, but I just kind of knew as a 13-year-old, my job will be for the church, for Christ Church.
Right. In a build, like, how, in what way? Was it like, because I've recently said to someone, and I didn't really mean to, it just kind of came out. They said, well, did you always want to be a camera, or director or whatever? And I was like, no, I always thought I was going to be a missionary. That was always in my head.
Yes, yeah, interesting.
Which is weird. And it kind of came, and I must have said it years ago, but it just, and I was like, oh, that was weird.
Yes.
Because obviously I have these conversations and people say, have you ever thought about becoming, a vicar or whatever? And I'm like, no. But it was interesting when I had this conversation about, missionary, which was weird. So, so when you say like the church or, about Jesus, what was it?
No, that's it. That's interesting that you say that. I think probably you're right. At 13, I had the same sense. It wasn't that I knew I'd be a vicar or a pastor. It was more that I just knew my life, or I felt my life is going to be about this Jesus thing, and that I'll give my everything to it. That will be what my life is centered around. In a way that, in the practical sense, I guess I did think, I'll go and be a missionary, and because when you're younger, that's just exciting, and it's the most sort of, adventurous thing you could do as a Christian. So that probably is the image I had in my head. But as I sort of grew into maturity, I think I realised, no, I think my gifts and my calling is to be for someone that, I don't know which phrase you want to use, but works for the church, that works looking after the people of God.
Or as someone said on the video, a professional Christian. How depressing is that?
Yeah.
I think that's really...
Although I tell you what, for me, through this social media stuff and having a few friends contact me, the biggest insult is when people message you and go, I knew you'd become a vicar. And I'm like, no, that's not what you're meant to say. That's not a compliment to me. Sorry, it's just not.
So, and that's why we got in touch. So I think I just, like on my Google News, you know, like when, on your phone or Apple or whatever, and it was like, yeah, the Romford vicar known as sexy father or something. I was like, what the heck is this? Because I just think it's hilarious that it was Romford for me. Yeah. And then also it was quite fun. And you've seen these kind of things, you know, the articles come out every so often, but you being in Romford was hilarious. So I got in touch on Instagram. And so tell me, like, that's you at 13. Now, yeah. Because I think, and then we'll kind of track in between. I think that might be an interesting conversation. So, yeah, what was it, like mid or late August? This all kind of kicked off. When did you upload that video? The video.
Good question. So I think we uploaded that video to Facebook first. And it kind of got like 45,000, whatever. What would it have got views? And that was like a big deal for the church, but it wasn't like viral.
On the church.
This is on the So all of this is on the church Facebook.
Okay.
And then on the church TikTok.
Yeah.
So the church didn't have a TikTok; they just had a Facebook. Uploaded that. Went quite big.
Yeah.
And actually the reaction from people at the church was really, and still has been, was really positive. Like, oh, that's amazing. What a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And also, a bit funny. But it hadn't sort of blown up in a big sense. And then someone from the church said to me, oh, my son's on TikTok, so he hasn't seen the video, but why don't we start a church TikTok and put that video on there? So we did, really innocently, thinking, oh yeah, it'll probably do, all right, maybe a few thousand. And it got I think it's on 2.5 million views now.
Well, you're checking every day.
I'm always checking. I'm like, how many likes did it get? What are the comments?
I need another dopamine hit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Feed me.
Which is just bonkers. And it was really funny. Like I wrote some of the things down just because I thought I wanted to see a reaction to what people were saying.
Yeah.
Where is it? So, yes, Daddy. Sorry, I mean father. I mean, that was horrible.
There was a lot of those. A lot of them are just repeated, to be honest.
Oh, are they? Yeah, because everyone just quotes films and stuff.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
What's the Holy Fans link? That one's pretty horrible. And then Romford is only 3.5 hours away. I'll be there first thing on Sunday. I thought that was quite good as well. Yeah. And it was like, so the reason it went massive was the bands, right?
Definitely. Yeah. No doubt about it. Because the video I put up was just, hello, I'm the new Vicar of Romford. This is a welcome. And it was aimed at, just reaching a few hundred people in the Romford area.
Yeah.
To just say, hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
And I think I said, come along to church or something like that. And I don't know if this is a bit cheeky of me to say, but I think the fact it's in Romford is why it got that. Because I think...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is me stereotyping, but I do think people from Romford have that sense of humour that's a bit more naughty and cheeky. And because a few locals did that, then lots of people jumped on it and thought, oh, okay, we can comment about this and, make fun of it or,
And the stereotype of Romford is, I mean, you're not wearing white socks.
I'm not. Red today. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the stereotype is I mean, I'd get it everywhere. And everyone says, oh, where's your accent gone? And it's because I've moved so many different places since I was 18. But yeah, the stereotype, you just get it in the neck. I mean, it's like here or Birmingham or what. I mean, there's some real, and Romford is a real kind of place of stereotypes.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, 2.5 million views is massive. And I doubt the Church of England page or channels kind of gets that kind of impact, right?
Not regularly, but I don't know if they've ever had that. Yeah,
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it.
So then what? And it's really interesting. So Facebook's for kind of generally mums and even my parents who are in their almost 70s, TikTok is very much for kind of kids under 25 maybe. I mean, other people use it, but in terms of its mainstay, it's that.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, like how Reform use it, to gain voters and supporters. It's really interesting how politically it's often used. And what I find fascinating is a mum here said, "Oh, my son uses TikTok." So you did it, and you demonstrated that people were into that. Now, for me, like strategically, I come from an advertising background and stuff. I'd be like, "Wow, that's pretty like you're reaching people, you know, with a dog collar on. You know, those two things are kind of unique." So how was it? How come you then didn't make like another load and just kind of feed the social media beast?
I think, you know, we didn't really know what to do with it because it wasn't only the 2.5 million views. We then had like the office, and we're really fortunate to have someone that does the admin here paid, was getting flooded with media offers. And so we really had to, rightly so, lean on the diocese to say, how do we deal with this? And I think, if I'm honest, we didn't collectively, the diocese as well, really know how to deal with it because they said this is new to them as well.
Yeah.
You know, they've had obviously media attention, but it's quite a different way of having media attention. And so I think it was just advised to take a pause. And I think I wanted to do that because it was a bit of a storm and I was going on holiday and it felt like, oh, this is a lot, you know, people messaging and, you know, different channels asking me to go on certain shows and stuff. So I took a break, and also I didn't want to carry on. So I didn't want anyone to feel judged, right? I definitely didn't from what they were saying. Because I'm looking at those comments and I'm thinking, you know, you can go, oh yeah, that's awful. But ultimately, I know that that's some people that I hang out with. Not necessarily they commented, but that could be them commenting on someone. I'm not going to judge them and go, you're an awful person. How dare you say that to a vicar? But I didn't want to like feed that narrative. And so I really needed to step back and go, right, what content would I want to do? And I don't think it's been that coerced because actually also I've tried to be quite creative in doing some funny stuff, some really reflective stuff, some things that maybe give a slight wink towards, you know, that, you know, original video. But essentially, I wanted to draw people to the channel and to that platform and carry that on so that they hear the gospel. That is just my heart behind it, and still is. I want people to hear the gospel, but also to break down some stereotypes of what church is. You know, even what you said about your experience, I have had so much of that, of people saying, oh, you know, I remember church being boring. It's the place where I yawned or just, you know, had to sit there and it was not a great experience. But if you were there, I would have loved coming to church, you know? And people are saying that out of a place of, I think, you know, your content's quite engaging and it's quite funny.
Yeah.
And so I really love that. I just love that it's made people think. And I've seen that, well, now we've seen that in the tangible. So it's not just people saying it. We've had lots of people turn up to church because of the TikTok or the whatever it is, Instagram. And because I've said to them at the door, I've said, oh, what brings you here? Because I always will if it's a new person.
Yeah,
you know, oh, how did you hear about us?
Great.
And, you know, they look a bit embarrassed and they go, oh, to be honest, it was your TikTok. But, you know, what's lovely about that? Well, this is the funny. This is the funny thing. Hardly anyone. I think I've done like 2 selfies.
Oh,
seriously.
Really?
Yeah. But that's the funny thing because people that have come, I think there is a bit of like intrigue. Oh, let's go and see him. But actually, most of the people I've spoken to that have turned up on a Sunday, it's like, you know what? I've been exploring for a little while, or I wanted to sort of get back into church, or it's just spiked my interest. And seeing your videos has meant I feel comfortable stepping over because I know you won't judge, or I know you're okay with a sense of humour. And I think it's just made people feel comfortable to step in. But they're not here just to do that. I mean, there's so many people that have just kept coming. And they're just,
really?
they're just now involved in coming to church.
What, in that sort of TikTok age watching? Sort of,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the age that I get is not as young as you might think. So TikTok is, but if I look at my analytics, it's, I think the average age on TikTok, or the biggest age group, is my age group. So it's like, I think they break it down as 28 to 35. Okay. That's the biggest age group that watch the videos,
Which, I mean, I'm so out of touch with this.
No, but you are right. It is more for a young generation, but then the algorithm, I suppose, would chuck it to certain.
Well, also, no, I mean, it is for younger, but so many, I'm still like, 25 to me is like 20 years younger than me. Right?
Yeah.
So
I'd never know that.
It's the grey that's appearing. So what's interesting is, had you done that anyway, and it had just got a little bit of interest, you could quite easily say emphatically, I'm just doing it for the gospel. what's interesting is you've kind of been, like, you didn't know what to do because of the success, right? That's what's weird.
And on the first video, I think that's what was quite unusual about it. I hadn't got into...
There was no growth.
Yeah, I hadn't got into, oh, this is what
You're
my
like-
channel's about, or this is the content I want to do.
Yeah, like 0 to 400.
Yeah, exactly.
In like a second.
And it was just like, I just had this sense of, yeah, this is scary and it is risky, but actually, what an amazing opportunity. You know, how could I not take that opportunity that I don't know will be there? You know, if I'd have left it 2 months, maybe that momentum would have gone.
Well, and it often does.
Yeah.
So I know that, you know, I still work with clients and stuff on that kind of strategy side of things. And actually, I've just done myself disservice by saying I don't know nothing about TikTok. But the interesting thing is, like, you've whether it's your involvement deliberately, but also just as a team, as a diocese, as a church, you have penalised yourself over success, which is a really difficult thing, because if I was working with an organisation and we'd just pulled that off, they'd be like, Sam, we want you for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? I would have been hugely successful. Yeah. So it's interesting that you did something just based on a conversation here, and it became very successful. As a result, then you were penalised. And I was just thinking, like, wouldn't it be interesting if people that were doing similar stuff would just say, if this goes massive, we just need to say where it goes. So, like, if you'd just said yes to all those opportunities, what extra opportunity might you have had?
Sure.
Do you have a sense of regret in that? Like,
no, I actually don't, because I think what I had one moment actually that I think really helped me, where I'd done a few videos, and you know, when you do that sort of thing, you don't know what people think. And I'm used to that as a vicar, because I have to walk, you know, even if I hadn't done big videos, I have to walk through town with my dog collar on, and people are thinking all sorts, probably, and I know they're looking at me. Yeah. So I'm used to that, but I just had a moment where I was like, I think I walked into like a meeting that was quite serious, and I'm doing quite fun videos, and I just thought, oh, this is making me feel quite insecure. And no, I'm not saying rightly so, but it just made me check myself that actually, yes, I want that presence, but I don't want to lose the, I don't know if reputation is the right word. I don't want to lose the I guess the role that I hold as a vicar here. And, you know, so I guess a great example would be, I'm going to stand up on Remembrance Sunday and speak to people out in the town.
Oh, out here?
Yeah, so it will be out in the market, but also, up there.
Oh, right.
And they might not have ever met me personally and already made up their mind. Oh, that guy's disrespectful. That guy, you know, is, I don't know, in it for himself.
That's probably closer to people's judgment,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
The disrespectful, I don't think people, because what's interesting is...
Well, I have had a few people say that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've had a few people, it's not a lot, but a few people online say, you know, you're taking the mick, and you're being disrespectful to the church and your calling, and you're winding people up on purpose, which I find really interesting, because I've not ever tried to wind anyone up on purpose.
And the video,
I've only ever referred to it a couple of times, but that's been as like a sarcastic joke to say, oh, actually, I think like one of them I was making the point, actually I am married and I've got 3 kids. So, so I think...
what do they think of it?
The kids?
And your wife?
Okay, so the kids don't know much about it. I mean, they've heard through school, but so they're 8, 5 and 4.
Oh, so your 8-year-old would
so his kids talk about it. Sorry, his kids, his friends talk about it, but yeah, I don't really talk about it. You know, if he says it, I'll just go, oh yeah, it's good, isn't it? But I don't want him to have that awareness of like the stress of that, or even, I don't want him to think that's even a really positive thing that he should have to aspire to. Right. Because that's a lot of pressure on a young child. I guess I've just tried to keep it quite private for my children.
But then maybe you're doing something similar to what the church is saying about the success. Because I was talking with a guy who I'm working with at the moment. And he was saying, oh, my sister, she's got this legal YouTube channel she's got like 150,000 followers. Yeah. He said his nephew has done something. They've got like 500,000 followers. And he was just lit, and that was just 2 people in the members of his family. And I was like, holy moly, this is quite a, this is, the popularity of the individual is now so over the place. Yeah. So the thing I kind of wanted to ask along as we talk about this is that kind of church fear of culture. So you studied youth work, I did youth work. You work with young people in Romford, I did too. And the thing about kids in Romford, same as when I worked in Hammersmith, is, excuse my French, they don't take shit, right? If you're working with, you know, and
they'll see right through it.
They see right through, and they see through what you're saying. They see through how you're behaving. If you're incongruous or behave differently, they'll see it and ask you, "Why are you doing that?" That's not you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that you become transparent. What's interesting about social media is there's an expectation for that same thing. And yes, there's the makeup on the women, and there's the gym bod on the blokes, or whatever equivalent. But they're kind of still after authenticity. They want to know that you're real.
Absolutely.
And so what's this kind of weird, and actually the chap I spoke to, Robert Thompson, who's a vicar in West London, I filmed with him about Soul Survivor, I don't know, in March or something ages ago. And he said bishops now are not knowing how to deal with information and how to communicate it, because he was talking about the democratization of social media means, say a safeguarding issue comes up, they can no longer just kind of deal with it quietly and sweep it under the carpet. It's now public info. Yeah. With Soul Survivor, where a number of us would have just said, "Oh no, that sucks. What a bummer." Now we all just started talking, and hence me making these videos. And I was like, sack it. There are a couple of people who put their name to it. No one on video. I thought I'll just tell my story of when I was 18. What you're kind of doing and what you've demonstrated is, hey, I'm not just a vicar in these walls under this roof. I'm a vicar. That's it. Or I'm a father. And interestingly, like you use the term father, which I still, and so does Robert. I still don't get it. We could maybe talk about it. But what you've kind of demonstrated, and other people have done it as well, is people are interested in that. Yeah. So what if you were saying to people, and new vicars or old vicars, like how are they supposed to relate to this? So for me, I'm not a vicar. I'm like not interested in TikTok. I just can't even think, and I've got 10 years or whatever on you. But like, what would you be saying to people? What's the how? Because you were talking about being perceived in a meeting, which is another interesting one. You will go into meetings now as known. Yeah. You will be judged before you open your mouth. Exactly. Yeah. Which is weird. But to the point earlier, my mate with these family members, they have exactly the same thing at parties. So what advice would you give? What's been your experience through this process in this?
Advice to someone that goes kind of viralish, or just advice to someone that just wants to engage with social media?
Or what advice would you give to other dioceses, maybe?
That's a big question. I think I'm still learning about that. But I guess one advice I'd give is, you touched on it, be authentic. I don't think you should it's such a typical thing to say, but you shouldn't try and be someone else. I think one of the keys to why people have engaged with what I'm doing is they're getting to see a bit of an insight into what it is to be a vicar. I don't try and, be relevant and take my dog collar off and wear something different or conjure up some content. It tends to be, I might have some good ideas, but it tends to be, this is the stuff I deal with. This joke is based on stuff I experience as a vicar. This reflection is a reflection I have had. It's not something I think, this would be brilliant to say this, or I saw this person do that. So I think, authenticity is big. I think the other advice would just be like, I see such an opportunity. And I must say, even before this went viral, I did kind of look at it, and I've always thought, I don't know why more, I know there are a few, but I don't know why more vicars don't engage with social media in a personal way, because it's so poignant these days. People are really hungry for it. And also the algorithm's great because it makes it local. I know mine's gone a bit bigger than local, but it does actually make it local. So you're reaching out to people in your town. And that's why I use the title The Vicar of Romford. I don't really want it to be I mean, I guess I want people to know me personally a little bit, but I want to remind myself I am not just the vicar of this church. I'm the vicar of Romford. I have a congregation out there
Right.
that aren't being fed, if you like, or have been hurt by church or don't really know what to think of church. I want to engage with them, and I have a real sense that that's when I have been criticised. That's where Jesus would be. Jesus went where the people were. He didn't just stay in the temple. And there's nothing wrong with being in church, and I want people to come to church, but Jesus went out to where the people were. And I think these days, whether you like it or not, because I know we can pick apart should people be on social media that much, spending that much time, but the fact is, from a Christian perspective, people are on social media. That's where they see stuff.
So, quick rebuttal to that. When I was chatting with Nathan Ward, who's a vicar in Raynham, not here, but in Kent.
Oh, cool.
He and I were having a good conversation about this, and he said he's fed up with people when they call what they're doing their ministry. So, for example, and I can name drop it because I'm the bad guy, but the J. John Ministries is just weird. He's naming it after himself, and that happens a lot more in Pentecostal churches. But what those guys are really going to want to do is have a ministry blow up because it's worth tons of cash to them. So how that would be where I think, how do we get through that nuance? How do you get past that? So you did something that's gone massively successful. You can only apologize for it once or twice. You keep doing it. You're no longer apologetic. You want to see it grow, right? Now, how do you square that with being able to say, well, it's not about me, in the kind of self-survival language. It's about God.
Yeah.
Well,
I think,
like, how is it not about Jordan?
Well, I think it's actually, again, it comes back to just being honest. I'm not going to get into this, and I hear you because I agree. I'm not going to get into this weird culture that we have within Christianity. Sometimes we're going, oh, I'm so humble, it's that piousness. I think it's multifaceted. I genuinely, first and foremost, I'd say, but every day is a bit different, I'm sure. First and foremost, I'm doing this for the gospel. I have a heart for people outside the church walls, and I want them to know Jesus. That's my first and foremost. But of course, that is mixed with, I get, a bit of a feel from it, and, of course it's nice. And I wouldn't mind having some of the lovely benefits of being able to do something like this. It's great, and there's opportunities, and there is a bit of both. It's great for the church, it's great for the gospel, but it is. I think that it's good for me, and it's fun.
Like
exactly.
We're talking about being 13, being a missionary. You're going into unknown
Exactly.
territory.
It's an adventure, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to. I wouldn't sit here and say, oh, it's not about me at all. Yeah,
but that's
I'm
what
a
we
person.
learned, wasn't it, when we were kids?
Yeah.
In the church kind of culture we were in, that was the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
That we all bought. Actually, we all thought there's no elephant in here.
No.
Or Empress.
I actually think it's more healthy to just acknowledge that that's a fact.
Yeah.
Because then you can keep yourself in check of going, well, I do care about this a little bit for myself personally.
Yeah.
But just rather than just denying that's not a factor at all, but actually just saying, I want it to be more about the gospel.
Yeah. And you're right. I got a comment even this morning on one of my videos because I said something in the last thing about, I was saying, as Christians, are we opening our home on a Friday evening to people that we take work? And I joked saying even people that might be on the spectrum or something. I said that from an experience of knowing that myself, right? But they misunderstood me being playful about it and took it very personally. And what she challenged me with, I think it was a she, Jill or something, she said you need to acknowledge your own prejudice or bias or whatever. And I was like, well, I don't want to be oversensitive about it where I have to moderate myself about everything. And even that conversation I had, I said something which was flippant, but my meaning behind it wasn't dodgy, and I don't think I was even saying it in a derogatory way. But it upset. And as soon as you get more and more public, all these things happen more and more, and it's quite it's not interesting, that's a rubbish word. It's quite a difficult position to be in because, how do I maintain this? So I guess my encouragement would be who can you get around you to support the growth of this and in what you're doing, so you don't carry it on your own. And I know you'll get that support from the church or the diocese, and they'll say we're with you. But I think try and look for people who can kind of say, I've got your back here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And actually, you know what? What's been really lovely, which I didn't expect at all, is the sort of social media community.
Right.
I've had lots of people, I mean, yourself being one of them, that have reached out and said, you know, love what you're doing. I know what it's like going on this journey. Let me know.
Great.
It's been really nice. And they have sort of, even in the comments, sort of supported me sometimes when people are being a bit critical or asking questions. And yeah, I think that's really nice to have that community of people that actually are outside of the church as well.
And it's funny that probably the most negative stuff you got were from people who are calling themselves Christians.
Probably, yes.
So depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about our kind of, because we've covered on bits of it already. Like thanks for watching some of my videos. So you get a bit of an idea of my background with Soul Survivor and my view on it and how I'm trying to take it apart a bit. Mm-hmm. But how did you end up from Baptist with your parents to Soul Survivor, having this experience of, you want to be someone that's maybe evangelist or whatever, what I'm hearing from you. How did you move from that and then the big top, the big experiences, the fantastic PA, the emotionally charged prayer times, to a dusty church that just celebrates its 175th?
You need to stop with this dusty church thing, okay? It's not that dusty.
No, it's really.
If people could see
really
it's
lovely.
Beautiful. But I get it. So yeah, how did so for me, I think I'm going to say I was 13, and in a small village Baptist church, no other kids other than me and my two sisters. My parents, bless them, they really were had a heart for, let's use church to reach out to the kids in the village. And we had this massive youth club that sprung up.
Yeah. Oh, wow, cool.
So that was really inspiring.
Where was that?
Aston Clinton. It's a really small village outside of Aylesbury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that really inspired me from my parents, but just, seeing that actually faith shouldn't just be kept to ourselves, and church doesn't have to be boring. And sometimes if you don't want it to be boring, you've got to be the answer to that. My parents saw that and they showed me that. And so we had this huge youth group. It became for a village, it was 80 kids on a Friday night. Yeah, It was really big. And I think one of the other adults Soul Survivor was quite big at the time, and they just had heard about it and said, well, why don't we go on this camping trip to Soul Survivor? So we just went along, and we were a church that went and was completely fresh to it. We had no sort of, not only did we not have a concept of that kind of evangelical world where there was sort of networks, but also I think the whole charismatic movement was quite new to a lot of us, the leaders as well, the volunteers of the church. But for me, it was really inspiring. To see all these young people that, I'm not alone in my faith, because I felt quite, I'm passionate about this, but there's not many other young Christians.
Yeah.
And then I'm in a tent with, 10,000 young Christians, or most of them Christians, and people on the stage that are also really encouraging myself and others to nurture that faith and listen to God and go with that calling. Yeah. And so, that I just jumped in 2 feet. I was like, Soul Survivor's amazing. Love it. Yeah.
So where I mean, I was exactly the same. 10 years before you or whatever, but it's exactly the same. It was a place where, there was a kind of summit experience, I suppose. Yeah. The clouds sort of moved apart and you can see for miles, and you thought, wow, there's a lot to see here. Where the church environment that I was in was fantastic, but it felt like I was at the bottom of the hill. There were a lot of stiles and a lot of mud, but I go up every year to the top of the hill and see for miles. Yeah. What could I be part of? Yeah. So where you said on the phone to me last week, you can relate to a lot of what I've said about it. Mm-hmm. Tell me about some of the bits that you relate, or what was your story in this? What was your processing, or whatever language is useful?
I think for me it's quite interesting because I had, 3 encounters with Mike. So, and I know people like yourself have had, much more encounters and.
So, but it wasn't long, For me, it was very.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of okay. So my question is probably clearer then. So how did you respond to the news that came out about Pilavachi? Did you see it? How did you hear about it? What did it instill in you? What did it bring up?
Oh, that's a good question. I think confusion, really, because it's like this massive disconnect from this thing that was so foundational for my own faith, and where I've got to at that point. And now, are we saying it's all a big lie? So that, confusion, definitely.
And do you think you can? So what I'm trying to do, is say, I don't think he should just be the fall guy.
No.
I think the environment is something I want to try and understand.
Yeah.
So yes, the news came out about him, and the new, as we were saying, you're the sexy. What was it? Sexy father, sexy vicar.
Oh, I don't know. There's all sorts. I'm not going to be looking at that, Sam.
Whatever it was, people love an individual, right?
Yeah.
So you become poster boy for Romford, for the Church of England, and St Edward's. Great, amazing. People love that. Yeah. He became the poster boy for a hypocritical ministry, and then completely scapegoated.
Yeah,
and no one's really acknowledging the wider place that they play in it, right?
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if this is the bit of the question you want me to touch on, but I think...
No, whatever you want.
I think for me, I found that actually quite difficult when a lot of Christians were saying, oh, we need to get away. And I get it, but we need to get away from these Christian personalities. Because it's quite interesting now, obviously at the time I didn't know that, but now, to some degree, I'm one of those personalities that is, I'm not saying in a physical sense, but attractive, right? And I disagreed at the time when I saw some people saying that, because I'm like, well, no, that's just human nature, in my opinion. You can't get away from that. Some people are more attractive and some people are less. I don't mean physically, I just mean some people you're more attracted to. They have a personality that draws you.
Well, everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think for me, let's not make that the fault. That's a good thing that can be used really well for the gospel. Where the fault is human nature. Is that the way I see it is, even myself, there's the potential that I can just go and be a idiot and use it for bad. But I could actually just keep using it for good. Yeah. And I think, I don't really know enough, but I think there's some elements of that I don't really like in the soul survivor narrative, that it's kind of like just black and white, no, bad person, not of God, put to the side. I don't quite see it like that. And my encounters with my own faith in soul survivor, it's not even that I don't want it to. I just don't even think it's true to say, oh, that was all a load of rubbish. It clearly wasn't. In my opinion, it was not a load of rubbish. There was something of God in it. Yeah. But there was also something of sin and humanity in it as well. That's how I see it.
And so your experiences as a young person would say, and it being so positive, you'd say there was something that was positive. And yeah, it's really interesting drawing the parallel between your kind of influencer thing, because essentially, even though it's been incredibly recent, you don't know where it's going to go, because that's the thing again with social. You're hot and then you're not, and everything else, and it's way quicker than TV or traditional media, right? But the position of being in before someone meets you, they might have seen you before thing is weird. It's just, and as a vicar, you have that to some degree. Someone that talks to you, like my grandma would always be really nervous about the vicar going to her house, and that was happening like twice a year or whatever. She'd be like, oh, he's coming, because they wouldn't really ever talk in the church. She went to the Romford Baptist in the last bit of her life, but there would be this sense of, well, he stands at the front or she stands at the front, but in this instance he stands at the front, he does all of this, and he's coming to my house. Now it's social media. It's you're in the hand of a bunch of people, while they're on the train, while they're on the toilet, that you in going to sleep. They are the last thing they've just seen as they fall asleep, head on the pillow. Or with my wife and I, as everyone does now, watch like reels or whatever. You're there as well when they're just completely bored, when they're stressed before a meeting. You're there, you're in the palm of their hands, and so it's a really, really bizarre position to be in. And what in Soul Survivor, I feel like there was an equivalence with Pilavachi. He didn't the way he blew up was through his own engineering a lot of ways, or was it through God's blessing? But
the way he blew up, was it through God's blessing? Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't. I'm just.
Yeah.
But he wrote books that I bought, CDs that he was, encouraging us to buy. And in the same way, that book I'd read while I was in bed, and I'd read what he'd written with Craig Bollais or whatever. I would be on the train reading that book. I would be, on the bus or whatever in my break time.
Yeah.
When I wanted to get closer to God, at school, I would read that book.
Yeah.
He was really, really close to me, and then he invited me to his flat and everything else. Which I wanted him to do, right? Because I'd had all those experiences.
Yeah.
So, what's interesting is he misused his position massively. He did it, took advantage of people like me who'd gone through that stage. What was it that now, like, I haven't quite formulated the question, but you can see where I'm trying to go. How can you use your role, and if it continues to grow, how can you use it to do that thing that you imagined when you were 13 and not get caught up in the Jordan Palmer ministry or whatever?
Yeah. I don't know if this is an answer, but I feel like there's an answer in here somewhere, but I just hope I can articulate it. I think the dog collar really helps. I think, interestingly, trying to pick up what you said before, even though I can see why you'd think the opposite, using the terminology father really helps. Because I feel like it keeps me, or reminds me that I'm not representing just Jordan. There's a weight to it that I represent, and I'm proud to wear the dog collar, the clerical collar.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe an awareness in the same way that you are as a youth worker, or that you could compare it to lots of roles where it's like, say like lots of young people are around you and they think you're so cool. You have to kind of remind yourself in those moments, oh, that's really nice, but I'm not their peer. I'm a youth worker.
Yeah.
And I think the father thing really reminds me of that, that I want to be emulating God the Father to people. And I think it just reminds me not to get caught up in my own self-delusion of who I am.
Such a good idea. Such a good response. It made me think of, so when I was a youth worker, I remember I was in Surrey and Cheam. So that's where I met my wife. And I would have been, 23, 24? And some of the girls would be 18, right? And I remember, because I had my youth work hat on, I didn't notice who the pretty girls were. And that sounds so right. But I remember this guy who started helping volunteering and went, God, there's so many pretty girls here. And a bit of me was like, and this sounds so much like bullshit, but it's not. For me, I am being honest.
Yeah.
I had my youth work hat on where I didn't see them like that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see
They're young people that you're looking after.
My
you're
responsibility.
Caring for them. Yeah.
And it was my responsibility. So I couldn't, and the way that he said it, and it was like, oh yeah. And it's really interesting what you're saying. Why I'm wanting to say that story is it kind of mirrors with my experience, which was essentially the language we used at Ridley Hall was the youth work hat. Like, what hat are you wearing? For when you go into a school or when you're working with social workers, which hat are you wearing?
Yeah. And I get to wear a physical collar.
Yes, you do.
Which I find psychologically really helpful and helpful for others.
Yeah.
I said this to you on the phone. I can't understand. I might do a video on this. Literally asking the question.
Yeah.
I can't understand why evangelicals like taking it off. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of evangelicals want to take it off as quick as possible. As long as they're not doing something really formal, get the dog collar off. So I look relevant, and I just think, I don't know. One, I find it a bit cringy.
Why is it cringy?
Well, I guess maybe in the spirit it can be done to sort of take the dog collar off so that I sort of fit in and people think I'm cool and relevant, even though I'm a vicar. Oh yeah, I'm down with it. I'm just like, no, you are a vicar. Just be upfront and cool with being a vicar. And I said to you on the phone, I think it can be a little bit manipulative. Like I love walking into the pub with this, and I had a friend who's also a vicar that said, I go into the pub, but why do you take your dog collar? And I said to him, I would find it really manipulative if I went into a pub with half the idea. I mean, it's different if I'm with my friends, but he was saying in the role of being a vicar, with part of the idea of I want to talk to people, for people to know that I'm there, maybe tell them about, you know, the church and the gospel, and spring it on them. Whereas when I walk in with the dog collar, straight away people know. If they want their guard up, it can go up. Straight away they know the stereotype, or they can make my mind up. And if they want to invite me into the space of talking to them still, I might be able to change that stereotype. But I've gone away from your question.
I think it's really. So would you? I don't know. So would Hanno ever say to you, Jordan, could you just not wear it today?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm not trying to say I wear this all the time.
Right.
So, and that's the other thing, is being really distinctive when you take it off, because it's also a message to people. Not to say you can't talk to me, but it's family time now.
Right.
I'm with, it's my day off. I'm with my family. So no, I'm not wearing it on my Saturday or anything like that. It's just that when I'm coming into the church or walking around Romford and I'm on, not on
duty.
I'm on duty.
Yeah.
I wear it.
Yeah.
As much as I can, because it's recognisable as well, and so it just causes opportunity, I'd say. Yeah.
For that, and then the internal bit, really, really clear, is I've got a responsibility here.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because it's really interesting when you're wearing something like this. I don't know if it's the same for police officers. You're just like, your conscience is pricked, really. Right. Because sometimes you can just walk around, and it's silly things like it might be that you think someone's doing something silly, so you sort of frown. And you go, "Oh, I'm wearing the dog collar, so I've got to smile,"
Yeah, really good point.
But it's like you represent that. You can't just go around sort of having those thoughts.
Even like motorbikes, it's funny how people take on a persona when they're wearing all the clobber.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's something about putting on a clobber that kind of gets you into a role, and some people embrace that in different ways.
Yeah.
And so,
but it's not like, I want to be clear. It's not that I'm sort of pretending or suddenly, as soon as this is on, I become a different person. I'm still a vicar when it's not on, and I'm still
TikTok sexy guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here's the different one today. Yeah.
And then you just sit there in an old shell suit.
Yeah. but taking it back to social media, that's interesting as well, because I've seen a lot of vicars on social media that are only known on social media because they're a vicar, and yet they choose not to wear the dog collar.
Right.
And I just can't understand it on just a basic level of being like, because I've always said to myself, people are not watching me because they care about Jordan. They don't give a crap about Jordan. I don't think. They might eventually, but they're watching me because I'm wearing a dog collar. And they'll watch someone else for a different reason, but the reason they're watching me is because I'm wearing a dog collar.
And they're placing all of their judgment, everything onto that.
Or they're intrigued by it, or they want a message of hope. That's why it could be various reasons. Yeah. But the only reason they're watching that video to some degree is because I'm wearing a clerical collar. Yeah. So I don't see the point in then doing a reflection with my dog collar off, or a funny video of my dog collar off. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. So, okay, so then maybe finally, how did you get from all of that into a high church?
Oh, that's a really tough question. So I was going to say the Soul Survivor thing. For me, it wasn't like a big moment of coming away from that sort of evangelical world. It was quite a slow process. And I said to you as well, I don't really want to put a label on it. It's not that I'm, I'm anti-evangelical or anything like that. I'd say there's lots of things about me that you might say are from an evangelical background.
So if you were going to church as a punter, you would go to like a church with a drum kit and a guitar, and you wouldn't? Okay.
I mean, I would sometimes, but I think probably my sense now, but it's personal. I'm not saying it's the only way. For me, the journey I've been on, I'd want to go to a higher church, because I think I see the Eucharist is quite central to why I'm there. I think reflection and stopping and being still and reverence is really important to me. And I'm saying it's personal, because in my world with 3 young kids, I don't want to go somewhere where there's loads of noise again.
Yeah, you're right. There's so much noise in that world. Yeah, yeah, and that's what I struggled with when I've been to churches recently. There's not noise. Mm-hmm. I'm like give it a rest, please. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah, so I think it's a personal journey, and there's theological reasons why I'm in this church now. But I think also people might be surprised that, and I like that. I don't want people to go, oh, you're in a high church, so that means you believe ... No. I believe various things because what I try and do is I'm in a high church because that's the expression that I think, one, I get something from, but two, I think there's I guess the other reason is I think even before the social media stuff, there's an amazing opportunity that a high church has that a lower church doesn't have, in terms of the cultural things, in terms of what it offers people. And
like what?
Well, I guess some of the stuff I said, that reverence stuff. Yeah. So, it's quite a great paradox that we have here, that we're this quite reflective church, and the amount of times I get people that step in literally off the market, where there's people shouting and it's packed and it's chaos, into a church, and that's how their lives feel. And they step into a church and it's peace, or they sense that, a feeling of God being present, or just stillness and calm. And I think there's a great opportunity there. I think the other great opportunity, I don't know, maybe there's something about me personally that loves breaking stereotype. I love being in robes. I don't know what this is, so this could be a weird way to end it. But I love being in the robes, right? And then jumping around with kids, or being really expressionate in my sermons, or being funny. Because it's kind of like, it snaps people out. Because it's like, you thought that means this, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's so key to our whole faith, of sort of breaking down those boundaries. And I think, did you see my video on putting on the robes?
Yeah, that's what inspired me to get in touch, because I was like, I get it.
Sure. So I think there's that as well. I not to carry this on too long, but I really, and I don't know if this comes from my Canadian upbringing, so I grew up in Canada, I really love the tradition. I think it speaks into our culture, particularly because we have been, we sort of sucked all of that out of our culture, sense of meaning, symbolism, purpose. And I think actually some of the higher church stuff resembles the importance of that. It's not to say I have to wear robes in order to ... but I just love what it represents. I love, that, as I said on my video, this represents, the white represents purity, the black represents that I'm sinful, and you can just go on and on. I just love that. And I think our world misses so much of that, and the church has an important part to play in it.
I would say, so me being critical to that, I think that gives you a really deep, mysterious position, but I don't know how that gives someone that comes in an experience like that. So
because I think,
but I guess reply to that, but then also apply for if you've noticed people coming into the church and why. Yeah. So my challenge would be, I kind of get it. Like, if I was a vicar, I think I would probably be more, I'd be interested in doing something I'm not familiar with, because it'd be a bigger challenge. I wouldn't want to go and think, right, all I need to do is get a really good worship leader, think about the worship curve, make sure that the welcome's really tight, get various people to do it so they feel like there's representation, and then get a prayer thing at the end where everyone can feel like they've been filled up at the petrol station. I would know how to do that pretty easily. Yeah. Coming here, I'm like, whoa, where do we go? And what's fun about it is, like you said, you're focusing on the historic, theological, biblical structures of this is what we do. Communion is the center, and greeting you and just being nice is there. And I'm not going to hide behind giving you a good show. I'm not going to pretend I don't know you, or I've not forgotten, because I only ever say hello like I would at some party I'm not interested in going to. But this all means something. So I get it. Yeah. So from my position, I understand you. From a part of the church, I'm not sure I do. So why
people coming from outside?
Yeah, whether they're Christians and have grown up as such, or whether they're people that are like, there's something here that I need to explore. So what is it here that you value in both? You've said about you, so in that side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're saying on the side of the traditional stuff. Yeah. I think there's so many ways you could answer this, but I think I would say people really need that otherliness. What I mean is, they have the world, and I think I see in people when they come in here, and they encounter myself maybe and the service, they really crave something that's other to the world. And that symbolism is not in and of itself important, but it represents something of other. This is not like the world. We do things for different reasons. This means that, this means this. But also I think, I started to share with you that only this Sunday we had 3 young lads come in, real Essex boys.
How old were they?
In their, I'd say, mid-20s.
Okay.
And they were telling me that they go to a big, well-known sort of London church that's more of an evangelical, very charismatic flavour. And I asked them why they came here, and they said something off, in essence. They were feeling a bit sort of sick of being fed so much of that, what can be good food, but I'm not talking about the theology, but more, it was just so slick and so pre-thought and so planned. And I think they were expressing something, because obviously here is all, we process, so there's a bit of pre-planning. So reflect on that with them. I think it was not just about that, but it was also, there's something that's different about this. Mm-hmm. There's something that doesn't try and be or look like the world. Yeah. In a way that helps them to reach out to a God who is mysterious, who at times we don't know the answers. Yeah. But we're trying to reach out. And I think, this is a big conversation, but there's lots of ways that you can connect. Yeah. And I would affirm that. I am not saying it's wrong to connect in other ways, but I want to encourage people that are in the high church tradition. This is needed too. And you said about the silent revival, we're seeing lots of people come in, and I'm hearing stories, lots of churches, lots of different traditions, flavours, but particularly to churches that are more high church. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because people are really lacking a sense of belonging. They're lacking a sense of that belonging being tied to tradition, I think. I think tradition's really important because we now live in such a globalized world where it's like, what is my tradition? Yeah. I have so many people that say that. They're like, I don't know what my tradition is, so I'm coming back here because it looks like where I got christened, or it looks like where I went to school.
It's the middle of Romford, it's the biggest church. It's the I was reading something recently about. Actually, it's probably worth me looking it up. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just being sort of facetious, but whatever. Where was it? So it's quite hard to do this, but you think party people are just extroverts, but it's actually a sign of low intelligence. And I really, this is like a thing. Okay, yeah. And it says, so the smarter the person, the less dopamine they need from noise. Research shows that people with higher IQs often prefer solitude, reflection, and low stimulation environments. Why? Because their brain already generates high internal stimulation. They don't chase external noise. They're busy building inner empires. This is all kind of, social media tosspots. But chronic socializing equals cognitive avoidance. Partying every weekend or going to a noisy, loud, big church, partying every weekend about being social is often about escaping an introspection. When silence makes you anxious and solitude feels like punishment, it's not personality, it's a sign of your inner world is too empty to face. High intelligence prioritize depth over breadth. A 15-minute shallow talk at a club drains a high IQ mind more than 3 hours of deep dialogue in a quiet room. They're not antisocial, they're allergic to surface level. Intellectual minds don't network, they connect. And it sounds massively judgmental, and I've obviously made the comparison. But as a kid, those emotional dopamine hits were I became dependent on them. And whether that was just going to Soul Survivor once a year or going once a month when Andy took us there, those things became so useful to me. The noise, the impact, the drums, when when Colin Brooks got the psalm drummers together and they do the beat, together, and you go, wow, this is so exciting. People now are thinking about their place in the world. They're thinking about the existential crisis that we're all facing. Yeah. And being sung at by someone that's too loud on a microphone that loves the sound of their own voice as you sing along to them doesn't get you anywhere.
No.
And so what I'm wondering, it's really unfair me finishing on this, but I'm not trying to make a distinction between thick people and bright people. What I'm trying to make a distinction between is people that want to think about things. And slowly, that's bringing them to church. It's the thinking about. Is that fair?
Oh, I think so. I would say, I suppose maybe people just are maybe not wanting, or it's not to say there's not, I want to affirm that, I'm not saying there's not a place for it, because I think there is. It's not to say, but I just want to encourage people that are maybe seeking something that is different. People don't always want this neatly packaged, here you go.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe something in the high church is more representative of where people are at the moment, which is they have questions and it doesn't quite make sense. And rather than going, here you go, here's the answer.
Yeah.
They don't want that. They want to deeply reflect and think and encounter God. And I think there's something of the high church that is very good at just staying in that place, being comfortable in that place of, don't have all the answers. This is the mystery of faith, and layers as well. That on one layer, even my own children probably could come to church and they don't. They're going to go out thinking, oh, why do you genuflect? Why do you wear all those robes? Don't know.
Yeah.
But then there's the option to go deeper.
Yeah.
To go, actually, there's a reason why. This symbolises this. I mean, it might not be for everyone, but this symbolises this. We do this because of that.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost that in culture. I think we think that people always need really easy, dumbed down answers.
Yeah.
And actually, I think there's something really poignant in being part of a culture, whatever religion that is or whatever culture it is, where actually you do things and it becomes part of you and you don't know why, but then when you're older, you go, whoa, that actually did so much to me and it meant so much. And now it's taken on a whole new level of meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the clickbait aspect.
Go
on. So you said you met with Pilavachi 3 times.
Yeah.
What were you going to say in that? Because I just think...
Oh, I guess it wasn't like a big moment, I suppose. So I had him at Soul Survivor Watford. I had my eyes closed praying and I felt this hand, as you do in evangelical churches, put a hand on me, pray for me. I didn't open my eyes, but I just thought, whoa, that feels like a real presence of God. I don't really have the language for it, but it felt powerful. And then open my eyes and it's Mike Pilavachi. My second encounter was, actually this is quite interesting, being in a meeting that was about, because we were kind of local in Aylesbury, him helping with the youth work. And this is interesting because I think this is where it becomes difficult. He pointed me out, I'm 17 I think, and went, you're special. Now because of what we know, there's something very manipulative about that. But at the same time, what I'm holding in my mind is he then prophesied for me, or over me. And really funnily, those prophecies have come true in what we're now sitting here talking about, as in why the social media stuff.
Do you want to say what it is, or?
It's not personal.
It's interesting to ask.
I can't remember it word for word.
No, sure.
But the essence of it was, you're going to have a huge impact on the church in a national way. You are like I guess it's a terminology, but you're like a honeycomb to bees. But it's going to be for people outside of the church are going to gather around you. That was prophecy. Mm-hmm. And I put that to the side and, at times gone, that's a load of rubbish. But I can't deny now I'm sitting here with a social media presence. Now you could just say, oh, coincidence. It could be. But I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah,
but that's why I want to have these chats. Yeah. Because it's like, it's way bigger.
There's no easy answer. And then the third encounter sounds maybe a little bit similar to yours. He, I think from that actually, he said, oh, we should meet for coffee. Met for coffee. I think by that point, I must have been on the precipice of 17, because I remember when I met with him, I just turned 18. Mm-hmm. And And yeah, basically said, you should come to wherever they were going on mission trip, South Africa or something. It's in 2 months, come with us. Because I was about to finish sixth form. And I was a bit unsure what I was going to do, go to uni or something. You should come with us, do the Soul Survivor internship. But more than that, you know, you can be my sort of like, I don't know how he worded it, but personal, close to me or whatever. And then we had this coffee and I was kind of considering it. And he said, come back to my house. So I didn't see anything dodgy in that. And probably like you, I was like a bit awe-inspired. Like, what? Go back to Mike Pilavachi's house. Because he was a celebrity in our world at that point. He's a celebrity. But even at the age of 18, I remember thinking, God, that's a bit unwise of him, isn't it? I remember thinking that at the age of 18, just having that awareness of, oh, if I had this level of influence, I probably wouldn't invite an 18-year-old back. I had no indication that there was anything untoward. And nothing happened. We just chatted more. Chatted more. He showed me some Facebook messages actually of people that had sort of reached out and was encouraging, trying to convince me to do the internship, and that was it. And I didn't do it, and then he cut. Like there was no more kind of interest in how you're doing or.
Did you send him any messages after you'd been?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I said like, not really desperately, just saying, oh, you know, this is what I'm doing now. But yeah. Just cut. But I didn't feel hurt by that.
No.
But just now, in light of what has come out, it's just interesting reflections, those encounters, of where you draw the line between was God in it, how much of it was manipulation, maybe a bit of both.